All right. Well, Jenny, you want to kick off some introductions?
Yeah, well, welcome everyone. And if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Jennie Lok, or as you might see my hashtag on Instagram, it's Unlock Your Potential. We're here to help unlock the potential of our network, which is you guys, to realize a dream life that you couldn't have dreamed of, because we were able to do that and be able to scale and build a financial portfolio through real estate in a short amount of years, 5 years when we first started in 2016. And I'm a full-time real estate agent, also investor, was noted as the Realtors 30 under 30 for National Association of Realtors, and work with the team. There's amazing team members here, Samantha, Ashley, Mindy, another Ashley as well too. And we have sold now probably close to 250 plus homes. So we have to update that slide. And Calvin is my new fiance. We've been together for 7 years now and embarked on this journey. And I'll have Calvin share a bit about himself.
Yeah, I mean, that's really my life story in a nutshell. I mean, my biggest accomplishment was essentially, locking down Jenny as my fiance. That was probably the toughest negotiation of my life. Had a 7-year due diligence period, as she mentioned, but we got it done. Well, we haven't got it done yet. We haven't actually got married yet, so we're still in due diligence. But with that being said, I'm working on my own hashtag too. It's Unchin Your Potential. It's not as catchy as hers, but I'm working on it. For me, I'm a real estate investor, a coach, but just love being in real estate, not just for the cash flow or talking about gutters and HVAC systems, as fun as that sounds, but it's really, for me, about the good people that you meet along the way, right? That you get to share with, to have fun with, because at the end of the day, real estate is just a vehicle, right? To help you spend time with the people you want and make impact on others. So like Jenny had mentioned, really looking at sharing our path with you, and hopefully this sparks something in your mind, gives you a nugget, or gets you to feel inspired to go take action.
And just a quick disclaimer that the information that we're presenting is just purely for educational and informational purposes. We are not legal or financial investment advisors. And these are just purely what we've gone through from our personal experience. And you can take it and leverage it, but note that you can't look for anything. And today, these are the main topics that we're going to cover on the call. So the 7-step process that we've gone to be able to get into financial freedom. And the first one is, what's your big why? And we'll go over that. And then second is figure out and finding what your criteria is. And then third is locating a market that you want to invest in. A lot of us live in very expensive markets, whether it is in Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, Seattle, the coast. Some people might be in other markets as well too. So I love if you guys are here, we just made 100 participants on this call. So hopefully our Zoom allows the rest of the people to come in, because we had to increase it. 101. So it worked because we had a max capacity of 100. But if you can all type in the chat where you're all from, because this is going to be a collaborative team environment where you can talk with people and different realtors, different people looking to invest all around the country. So type in where you're all from. Awesome. So we see Nova, SF, Atlanta. Great. Atlanta is a hot market. SGV, Bay Area, Texas. Texas, great market to invest. SF is a little expensive. We live in San Francisco Bay Area ourselves too. Indiana, awesome. So connect with everyone. If you have a certain target market in mind, there might be someone actually on this call who might be a good person to connect with. And then is figure out your team. So we have a lot of different team members here from realtors. We have some lenders, we have some contractors on this call as well too. So if you guys are in any real estate related or financial field, or even if you're in tech or whatever you do, type in what you do in the chat. Awesome. And then we'll go over deal analysis of the different types of deals. So we see some real estate agents here. So BI analysts, social worker, tech, nurse, awesome. Contractors, project managers, great, I love it. Mortgage lenders, so a lot of great different types of people here on this call. And Afterwards, we're going to dive into deal analysis, how to actually analyze what's a good deal, what's a bad deal, what is an okay deal, and the main thing is what's a good deal for you, because what a good deal for you might be a different deal, not a great deal for us, but it might definitely make sense for you to get started. And we'll talk about negotiations and how we've been able to negotiate off-market deals and be able to find properties that were not listed in the traditional Zillow or Redfin that you see online. And then lastly, how to evaluate and track your portfolio to be able to scale. And we'll share with you our journey of exactly how we were able to scale in a short amount of time. And just some of the house rules. We're here again to learn and grow with each other. We're here to have fun and be present on camera unless you're driving. So if you can turn your camera on and just support with one another. If you like something, do the claps or the cheers or hearts. And we want to make sure that you're getting value out of this. And if you have questions, type it in the chat as well too. We have some great investors and students here who've learned a lot, and they're happy to answer the questions if we're not able to see it live, but we'll have a Q&A in the end as well. Perfect. So the first step, the funnest part, is why. Simon Sinek has a great book called Your Big Why. So figuring out what your big why is, like why is it important for you to get into real estate? And why are you doing this? A lot of people might just say, hey, it's to make money, but money is great, but what is that money going to do for you? And what are the other opportunities? Like whether you might not love and not be passionate for what you're doing. You might have some passion for what you're doing, but it's really draining. I see a lot of nurses here. It's been a tough year in the last 2 years where they're working 12, 14-hour days, long shifts, and very strenuous. So figure out, hey, how can you become your own boss to be able to control your time back? And what is your true potential in life? So that's where, luckily, my dad last name is Lok. So unlock your potential is what we're here to do today. And also, lastly, like when you fast forward and think of like however old you'll be, whether you're 90, 100 years old, hopefully we all live a long life, but what do you want to be remembered by? What do you want your obituary to say? And would it be like worked for 60 years or 50 something years at XYZ company, made XYZ awards, or President's Club at your certain company? Like Calvin, I know you shared like, oh, do I want to be remembered to have 25 President's Club under ADP? Or do I want to be someone who can make an impact on my friends and family and be able to actually be present and be able to enjoy time with them and travel with them and give them a great life that we couldn't just do alone by working our 9-to-5 job. One of our students, like he works at NASA, and he says there's an 85-year-old man still working at NASA with him. And he has trouble going up and down the stairs, but he needs to because he didn't plan for his own retirement. So do you want to be that 85-year-old, or do you want someone who is able to really be able to enjoy and pass down a legacy and pass down to your grandchildren, great grandchildren, of not having to go through that struggle of working and just doing what you love and enjoying the loved ones? And I love to share my big why. So my parents are immigrants. They came in to the United States when they were in their 20s in the 1980s. So at that time, they didn't speak much English. And when you're 20 something years old, it's really hard to pick up a new language. So they work in a clothing factory, and they still do. They work 14-hour days, 16-hour days sometimes. Now it's a little shorter, luckily, but still 7 days a week, 12 to 14-hour days sewing clothes. And some days, especially when the pandemic happened, people weren't going out there shopping for clothes anymore. So they had to pivot, and they started selling clothes for nurses for the gowns. But how much they make per piece is probably like 3 to 5 cents per piece. So they're actually making less than minimum wage. Some days they might make $30 to $50. So my parents are my big why. I want to make sure that they are able to truly retire happily and not have to worry financially anymore. Because growing up, I remember not eating until 11, 12 at midnight, and I would have to make rice, and then we would just eat rice super late at night. And sometimes we wouldn't even have heat at home, so we would just like buckle up in blankets, and we had to cut the paper towels into fours because we had to conserve paper towels. That was what I remember growing up. So I want to make sure that my kids and my future grandchildren don't have that same struggle. So my big why is my parents and being able to give them a life that they want. And at the end of this year, my dad is turning 62 years old, and we were calculating how much if he were to work for another 3 years to 65, how much more would he get in his retirement money from pension funds or the Social Security? He won't be getting any pension anymore, but Social Security, it was about $80,000 that he would be able to have more if he were to work 3 more years. And I'm proud to say I've already written an $80,000 check to give to my dad this year to say, hey, Dad, you can retire sooner than you thought. And I'm super excited. I have to learn how to say it in Chinese, but that's something where the big thing is they still live out in New York. I want to be able to have them move out here to California and help take care of our future kids. And something else where we really love to share is that visualization and manifestation of what we teach is very, very powerful. Everything that you want is not the actual things and the material aspects that you want. It's going to be the emotions and the feelings that you want. So what I actually did last year in a visualization exercise, it was March of 2020, right before the whole world shut down with COVID. I visualized this walking into this beautiful house or being in this beautiful home with a long 12-foot island, 10-foot ceilings, big sliding glass doors, and also behind those doors were my parents. And at a round table, drinking tea and seeing their grandchildren run around in the backyard, and them living in a back house, an accessory dwelling unit, ADU or in-law unit, as some people might call it, and just being able to see their kids and grandchildren grow up, and me and Calvin in Calvin's arms lovingly behind the glass doors. So this was in March 2020, where Calvin already had his condo. I had my first house ready that was house hacking and renting out. So we were not planning on buying a house. But then 2 months later, we walk into this house that we're actually in, and like, this is literally the house I just visualized for my parents. It's $2.3 million. I don't think we can afford it. But I was like, we have to have this house because it was in my visualization. And somehow we had enough exactly for the 20% down payment and met exactly enough for the debt to income ratio to qualify for this home. We had to go through 3 different lenders to be able to get qualified, but we made it work because I knew how important this house was, because it would get closer for my parents to get to be able to move out here and live a dream life and be able to just spend more time with each other. So think about yourself. What is your big why? And what we define as success is being able to do what you want with whoever you want, whenever you want, as much as you want. So what is that? Type in the chat and just say, hey, what is it that you want out there? Then would love to get some shares here of why are you here today? And then what is a problem are you trying to solve in your life? What is that missing gap? What are some of the chokeholds that are holding you back? So I see, want to be able to give to family and friends, help my mom retire, be financially comfortable in life, for your children, mansion by the beach to throw parties and family and friends, Max. You got to invite us. Hopefully we're invited.
For sure.
Want to be my own boss and own real estate and small businesses. And then for my wife and the direct family, retire at a young age. What is that young age? And is that before 30? And how do you define retirement as well too? Financial freedom. Awesome. Thanks, Max, for the invitation. Love it. more time with puppies. Puppies are important and having an impact in the world. Well, thank you for your shares. Keep typing it. Love to see all this love in the chat box here and seeing what drives you. And also want to thank you guys. It's a Wednesday night. You guys can be out there just eating dinner, enjoying life, but thank you for spending the time first to invest in yourself, to be here, because this is really important to invest for your future, and also being able to celebrate with all of us.
I love it, guys. Well, what we wanted to do is just also share a little bit about us, right? What was our journey, with the hopes of helping you guys get inspired and show you that really anything is possible, right? So I know everyone in this room is somewhere along this journey. For us, it started, I think, in 2016, about 5 years ago. Jenny, I think we were what, like 30K in credit card debt. We probably made every single mistake in the book. Actually, literally, like one of our very first deals, we were doing a partnership, a joint venture on a flip deal here in San Francisco. And we put $100,000 in that deal. And, flip, it sold, not for much profit. We got a little bit, but we were, at the table, and we were like, all right, cool. Like, let's get our money back and a little bit of profit that we were supposed to make. And that money never came. Like, the investor had told us, hey, I actually put that money into a Reno development deal without even asking us. And we were like, oh, okay. She's like, oh, don't worry, I'll give you 12%. That was like 6 years ago. We've never seen a dime of that. And I tell that story because, we could have done one or two things, right? We could have said, one, man, like, real estate is so unfair and stupid, and there's so many mean people out there, like, we're never gonna do this again. Or two, we could say, man, that sucks, but dang, that was a really good learning lesson. A really expensive learning lesson. And to be honest, like, I'm glad we trekked on, right? Because we learned that powerful lesson. It taught us to never make that same mistake again. And on each and every single one of these deals, we've taken those lessons and implemented it for the next deal, so we don't make the same mistake, right? One step at a time, one foot after the other foot. And like I said, you may see yourself somewhere along this path, and we want to let you know, hey, we were there too. In terms of just mentality, your door count, your passive income, whatever it is, like, we feel you, because we were there too. So back in 2016 is when we actually got our first investment property, and I remember the feeling that we had. We were scared. Right? We had no knowledge. We didn't know what we were doing, but we jumped in and we took action. And again, we made some mistakes. Sure, we learned from that. Right? And that one, I remember I was like, I just didn't account for capital expenditures. And first year AC went out, and I was like, whoa, hold up, I got to pay for a $4,000 AC. Like, whoa. But guess what? Next deal, didn't make that same mistake again. So that helped us scale up more single family homes, built more confidence up to 4 doors. We were building the right habits of getting comfortable talking to brokers, knowing neighborhoods, knowing what rents would go for, what the average home price would be in certain areas. I always kind of liken that to just habit creation, right? So we can always look at the outcome, which is our why, right? Why we're doing this, spend time with our family, do things that we love, have a mansion on the beach that you can invite Jenny and Calvin to when you throw parties. But what we preach a lot is, we want you guys to build those habits over and over and over and over again, so that it becomes second nature. Or kind of like, I don't know, how many people here have seen the movie Karate Kid? We actually just watched it recently because, there's that show Cobra Kai on Netflix that we love, so we actually watched Karate Kid. Anyways, sidetrack. In that movie, if you haven't seen it, there's a kid who gets beat up at school. He basically asks this guy to say, hey, can you teach me karate? And he's like, sure. Which is, since I forgot his name, Mr. Miyagi, that's who it is. And Mr. Miyagi's like, all right, cool, man, like, go wash my cars, go wax my cars. So then Daniel's son is like waxing his cars and waxing off, waxing on, waxing off. And he's like, man, I'm so fed up about this. Like, I wanted to learn karate, and all you did was make me do your chores. And then he goes in for a punch, and then he waxes off and blocks the punch. And he's like, that's why I've had you do this, right? Because you're building the habits, the muscle memory over and over again until you get it right. So that's what we did, right? You keep on doing it until you get it right. And what that does is it builds confidence, right? It helps us empower ourselves to take action and break over new barriers. So we started, single families, then went to quads, then did some burrs, right? Always kind of expanding out of our comfort zone a little bit, but stabilizing that to a point where, we started doing apartment complexes and got to financial freedom where, our passive income outweighs our expenses, and scaling that over to now over 102 doors and counting, and a 9-figure portfolio. And I guess the lesson of that is that each stage of this, you're going to go through something new, right? You're going to feel uncomfortable, right? And my big theme of my year this year is like, I want to lean into being comfortable, being uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, man, that's like when the most growth happens. So lean into that. So like Jenny said, like what we're going to be going over today is our 7-step process that we've used for almost every deal, every year that you saw out there, how we did it, literally just right here. This is the blueprint. So we went over our why already. We got the other 6 to go, but in the next 90 minutes, we're going to share as much as we can, right? It's going to be a lot of information. Some of you guys are going to take this information, you're going to roll up your sleeves and you're going to run with it, right? It's going to make a huge impact in your business and change your life. Some of you guys are going to want more additional support and help after this, or you're just going to say, hey, I just want to pour freaking gasoline on the fire and go, right? Sorry, I'm looking at you, man. So I promise, like before we wrap up, I promise that we'll share with you how you can get some additional support with us. Is that okay with everyone? Give me a clap emoji. If so, awesome. I can't really see it on the screen anyway, so I'm assuming everyone did. All right, great. I see Jenny. Awesome. All right, so step 1 was your why. Now we know our why. Step 2 is let's define your criteria, right? So why is this important? Well, 1, what is your criteria, right? Your criteria is really the specific type of property, the location, the price point of the property that you're looking to acquire, right? So it's important because, hey, without a freaking destination, Google Maps is useless. Now, you can turn on Google Maps all you want and look at the maps, but if you don't know where you're going, it's useless, right? So what you need to be is you need to be the captain of your ship, right? And be able to guide your real estate agents, your brokers, your deal finders on what exactly you're looking for. I can't help you. Like Jenny can't help you if you don't know what you want, right? If someone came to Jenny and said, hey, we're looking to buy a house, well, Jenny would be like, okay, well, where do you want to buy it? What's your price point, right? Like, I can't help you unless I know what you're trying to do. So know your criteria. Easy to get lost and have that squirrel effect when there's, bigger pockets out there and all that stuff and all these investors doing cool stuff. You can easily, and I was in that same boat too, where, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. Right. So it's easily that you can, have that squirrel effect and, get nothing done. What we like to preach is, hey, let's get a focus going, right? Know your criteria so you can focus on what is that one deal, that one criteria of a buy box that you have that'll get you closer to your why, to get you closer to, watching your parents and your kids in the backyard while, someone, your loved one's holding you. So things like that could be, thinking about your lifestyle, right? Some people, hey, like maybe a B-class neighborhood would be great because you don't have to deal with, the headaches you have with C-class tenants. Maybe your superpower is you are really creative. So you're looking for Airbnbs and cool places like that. Maybe it's a financial goal. Hey, I just want to get out of my job ASAP. So I'm looking for the highest cash flow per unit possible so I can keep my money rolling as fast as possible. Right. So as we look at our criteria, just be specific, right? What type of property? Where is it at? What's your price point? What kind of renovation are you willing to do? What type of return are you seeking? Because if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. So to how to even understand what that is and how to understand yours, right? I always say the first step is, you just understand your own expenses, your own income. How many of you right now can tell me what your expenses are per month, right? That was a life-changing exercise for me when I understood, all right, well, this is my monthly nut every month. That's my tier 1 passive income number, we'll call it. How much cash do you have on hand? What's your risk tolerance? What is your lifestyle goals that you want to have? What are your financial goals that you want to have? Do you want to retire in the next 5 years? And how much amount do you need to retire? Right. And that will help you figure out, all right, what properties are going to get me closer to my goal. Because once you then build out your criteria, then you'll be able to actually ask for it. And if you don't know what your criteria is right now, no problem, right? That's what we're here to do. We're here to support you, help you figure out, hey, what is my specific financial goals and lifestyle in my situation so I can build that out and know what I should be looking for. So just to give you some examples here, right? You can have 2 different people looking for an investment property, right? So if I were to call my agent, Jenny, you can be my agent right now. And I want to go ask you, hey, I'm Jack in the situation. I'd say, hey, Jenny, I'm looking for a good deal in a good area. Like, what are you thinking? Waste of time, right? Mm-hmm. Like, why am I even working with this person? Like, he doesn't even know what they want. They're probably not even pre-approved. But if I were Aurora, maybe you wanted to say Aurora's fit and you can contrast how better that sounds.
Mm-hmm. Hey, my name is Aurora. Let's say Ashley is the agent. Hey, Ashley, my name is Aurora, and I'm looking to buy a duplex with at least 2 bedrooms and 1 bath in each unit in the Windcrest neighborhood in Texas for up to $250,000. That can get close to the 1% rule. And ideally in great neighborhoods that are from 5 to 7 out of 10 school ratings.
Wow. Right.
Wonderful.
Totally big different, right? Now you know exactly what you're looking for. So if something comes up, hey, I know, hey, wait, hey, hang on. Like Jenny's the right person for that. I actually literally got a deal on a contract today because I've actually a fourplex. Because I talked to a broker. I've been talking to this broker for 2 years. I never bought anything from her. But I let her know, hey, anything in that Northeast Pendleton Heights neighborhood in Kansas City, like I'll look at it and I'll buy. I even let her know, like, this is the address of my places. And one of the properties literally next door to one of mine right now came up, and she's like, hey, like, I remember talking to you about this. You were the first person to come to mind. Like, do you want it? And I was like, oh, that's a great deal, actually. Yeah, I have properties right next door. I know exactly the numbers. So again, define your criteria. So when you talk to people, they know that that's what you want, and they can continuously give that back to you when it comes up. So that was step 2, define your criteria. We got why, define your criteria. Number 3 is we got then identify your target market, right? So this is understanding what metro statistical area, what city, what zip, what neighborhood you're targeting, right? And it's important because you want to pick a place that's going to support what you're trying to do. Hey, if I'm trying to buy for cash flow, do you think I'm going to buy in San Francisco? Probably not, unless I have a time machine. I can invest in a time machine and go back 40 years, and then I can buy for cash flow, but not right now, right? And then just think about, all right, what do I need this market to do to support me? Does it fit my criteria? Do I want to be in a primary market like an LA, SF, Austin, New York, or do I want to be in a secondary market, maybe like a San Antonio, or even a tertiary market like Decatur? Did I say that right, Jenny? Tertiary? I'm really bad at saying that word. Tertiary, that's what it is. That's how you say it. All right. So what to look for in a target market, right? Is you want to look for economic drivers, job growth, population growth, what companies and industries are moving there, what types of jobs, right? So even what class, right? It's like, if I'm buying a single family home, might be, some type of jobs in this area. If I'm buying apartment complexes, hey, maybe I want more blue collar jobs, right? In that area, what kind of jobs are coming? So as we look at this, we want to, understand what those are. This is also very easily one of the most common areas for someone to have analysis paralysis, because there are so many different markets out there. You can be in any market, and then you can find a deal in any market too. Right? So you can get stuck in this, like, what do I do? Like all these metrics, like this metric might be a little bit better than that, and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, what I say, and Anthony, I see you here because I'm looking at you, man, because we had this conversation, right? Just go out and take action. Go out and do it. Go build your team. Go look at deals, right? Because you're gonna be able to find deals in any market, right? So just start to establish yourself. Some of the KPIs that we're gonna look at, right, are something like a rent to price ratio, where essentially that's your annual rent income by the median price. Right? That's going to show you, are people more likely to buy a property in this area or rent? Looking at housing affordability index, right? That can show you what is the median home price divided by median annual income, right? So that'll show you, is it a better market for cash flow, or is it a better market for appreciation? And then the percentage of renters. Hey, what's my average right now? Should I have an ideally over a 30 to 40% amount of people that are renting? And affordability can help you look at that. So some of the places that we look at, and I want to make sure that you guys can see my screen right here. So bestplaces.net, really easy snapshot that you can look at. So I don't know, we can look at, they don't like that. Let's look at San Antonio. There we go. Cool. So this gives you a nice snapshot. Cool. You have population growth, right? Your unemployment rate, which actually seems a little high. Median home price, median income, right? You'll be able to get the data that you need to be able to evaluate and create your HAI and your rent to price ratio and things like that. This also have housing stats as well. How many renters make up San Antonio? Home appreciation in the last I think 20 years it is. Average rents as well. Even though I wouldn't totally rely on just this. You could even look at the job market too. Wow. Okay. Well, what's the income per household? Employment rate? Is it better than nationwide? And what's the split in industries? The other metric that, or other website we use is BEA, right? This is a great way to check out, the strength of the metro area as well, right? So gross domestic product basically is the economy of that area. So we look at the GDP per metro area, for certain places. Let me just get to where we can actually look at some data here. We go to MSA. We can look at, let's look at a bad market, for example. Let's look at Detroit, where during the recession, it got hit really hard. So I always like to look at, not only the good times, but also the bad times, because, any market can perform in a good time, but what is the market doing in a bad time? Now, if anyone's from Detroit, I'm sorry, I'm gonna do this anyways. So you can see here, right? So it has data all the way up to 2019. So data lags a little bit, but you can see, hey, cool. What happened in the recession, 08, 09? Oh my God, the GDP dropped like crazy, right? Because this was such a heavy industry reliant on automobiles, and that crashed, right? Now, again, like in the good times, hey, everything's going up, that's great. But in the bad times, what's happening, right? So I know if I go to San Antonio, for example, this graph looks a lot different, right? This graph looks like it's pretty stable through 08, 09, and 2010. So other things to look at there. Other things that you can continue to look at too is just U-Haul, right? So where are people moving, right? So U-Haul always puts migration trend reports out there. So where are people moving? Because, hey, when people move, what do they get? They get a freaking U-Haul, right? So you can break it down by state. You even have it by city too. So you see Tennessee, that's number one right now. That's where everyone's moving to. Texas, Florida, the usual suspects. And if you want to get even more step closer, you can even go on a city's website and start to understand, all right, what's the game plan for the city to invest money in the area and the neighborhood I'm looking at? So here's a map of, this is Kansas City, where we have some property. Let's look at the downtown plan, right? Let's see what they're looking at. Yeah, so for them, it's like they're really incentivizing people growing downtown, right? In terms of density and real estate, right? So they're going to be changing laws and making it so that they're removing zonings and barriers so that you can actually develop here, right? So that's a good sign. So there's just like some of the ninja trips that I would say that we look at when we're looking at markets and especially neighborhoods as well. So that's your target market. Step 4 is your team, right? So why is this important? Well, is it so you can hang out with other cute ass dogs like these? I think someone had said that in the chat earlier. No, probably not. But what it is real estate isn't tennis, it isn't golf, right? This is a team sport, right? It's basketball, it's football, right? So you need to have the people around you to be your support system, right? To fill the gaps that you may have, right? Sometimes maybe it's local knowledge, right? So I saw a lot of Californians in here, right? So if you want cash flow, you're probably not looking at California, but if I have my boots on the ground, maybe they can provide that local knowledge of a neighborhood that I don't know about. Or actually seeing the property in person and saying, hey, like, you know what, I probably wouldn't buy that property because you can actually see cracks in the roof. Or maybe you're great at networking, but suck at operations, right? So fill that gap, right? So if you want to look at who your team is, this is what your wolf pack looks like. Right? So find your wolf pack. So again, once you find a market that fits your needs, it's time to start building that team around you. So I really like the book Who Not How, because that shows you, like, it shouldn't be about hows, but sometimes you just need someone else that is really good at that other thing that you suck at to be able to implement that. So I've done a lot of work on myself to understand that I know where I want to spend my time. I know what gives me energy. What gives me energy is looking and finding deals and putting that together. What doesn't give me energy is doing construction projects, operations. I hate doing that, right? But I do it out of necessity. But as you continue to scale, wherever you are in that cycle right now, start to build out that team, right? To better fit the pieces that are around you, better fit the gaps that you have, or better fit the things that drains your energy, because you want to control that. You only have your time and energy in this world. So as I look at this, deal finder wise, like in my opinion, at least, the most important is your deal finder, right? Agents, your wholesalers, even you doing direct to seller marketing, networking, right? How do I get on top of that list? It's because you want to feed your funnel so you have as many deals to look at as possible. So you can start to understand your market, what's good and what's bad, and be able to pick the best ones to pursue. I guarantee you, every deal that you do, the next one's always gonna be better. The next one's always gonna be better. The next one's always gonna be better, because now you know. Capital, right? It could be anything from banks to hard money lenders to private money lenders to sellers, right? How you can structure a deal can make a good deal great or a good deal bad, right? Maybe you don't have any capital, right? How can I get creative with that now? Using private money or using even the seller as a bank. There are strategies around that as well. Construction, right? You're gonna have your contractors, your project managers, your inspectors. Gotta say these guys are probably the toughest to manage because, hey man, they're typically great craftsmen and craftswomen, but how you can supplement them is they're typically not great at the business side. So how can you support them on the business side to make their job easier so they can do the one thing that they're good at? And then operations, right? That could be property managers, asset managers, lawyers, CPAs. So again, like getting the deal is half that battle, right? Then operating is the other half. People forget about, right? And differences between property managers versus asset managers. Asset managers, as you scale, is someone that's going to look at your whole portfolio and see, hey, where are my operating expenditures? What am I actually making on these? And how do we actually do this versus the day-to-day of, tenant A is not paying their bill. I'm going to go put a notice on their door, right? Which leads me to having good lawyers too. So knock on wood, hopefully never have to use a lawyer in death, but if you do enough deals, you probably will, right? And I know the last deal that we just closed, like there was a lot of hair on that one. And, we were going to sue the current seller many times. And I would freak out and I talked to my lawyer and my lawyer would say, hey, we're good. We got this. We're contractually okay. But it's good to have that person in your court versus on the other side. And then your CPA, right? How do I play the tax strategy game, right? So there's offense of getting deals, finding deals, things like that. But there's also defense. How do I limit my tax exposure? How do I limit even my exposure at risk as well? So lawyers, CPAs, also great pieces of your team on the operation side. So we're going to talk about how do you find these people, right? So a big part of that is networking and knowing how to network. So I don't know if has anyone read the book, How to Win Friends or Influence People? Chad, I know you're rereading it right now, but it's an amazing book. It has nothing to do about real estate, but it has everything to do with real estate. So, I mean, that's what real estate's about, right? It's getting to know the right people, getting people to want to work with you, putting you at the top of their list, getting people to sell you that property, right? People want to work with the people they like, right? So this book goes over a lot of the strategies on maybe some common sense stuff that when you hear, you're like, oh, I knew that, but you don't implement it, right? So me saying this out loud today, hopefully it's going to spark something in your mind and say every day that I go out and do something, I'm going to keep this in mind. Calvin said that. So, I think it must be true. So again, people love their own name, right? Anthony, people love their own name. Jenny, you love your own name, right? Jesse, all right. Every single person, number 2, has something to teach you, right? So be open from receiving from anyone. Like literally, I can't even tell you how many times that I've been in a line at a conference or in a bathroom line or something like that. You spark up a conversation. You're like, wow, that little nugget right there helped me a lot. I actually almost did a flip deal here in Oakland, and I found from talking to my Uber driver like 4 years ago, and just letting them know what I did, right? So you never know where that's going to come from, and be open to receiving from anyone, and encourage people to talk about themselves, right? People love talking about themselves, so make them feel important, right? So, but do it in a genuine and authentic way of curiosity. Hey, I am really curious. Like, what kind of dog do you have? That's awesome. Tell me about your kids. Oh, that's really cool, right? And then praise and appreciate people. I'm a big fan about just gratitude in general and appreciating people because, when people feel appreciated, they lower their defenses. And at the last piece, just smile, right? People love being around positive people and like seeing smiles. So just don't forget to smile about it, because even if you're on the phone and you smile, it radiates energy from that as well. And you'll be able to get people to like you more, right? So don't forget to smile.
Some people might be introverts, and being in COVID might not really help because socializing might be pretty difficult, where you're just working all day and you're like, what do I talk to people about? I'm on the border of Calvin's more extroverted, but I'm on the borderline of introverted, extrovert. And some people might be really scared of like, how do I go talk to people and go find deals? And this is a simple way. And what we remember is forward. And just remember asking about their family, who are their kids? Do they have family in the area? Where's their family originally from? I think that's a great question to ask, like what their ties are and what cultural background is, and asking uniqueness of their upbringing. And then occupation. I went crazy on the emojis here to look for all the different occupations, but just seeing what they do, and also ask them like, do you enjoy doing what you do? And a lot of people don't, but a lot of people do. And they're so passionate and they love to share what they're doing, especially if they're helping people, saving lives and impacting people. If they're a chef, like making great cuisines for people to light up and just be satiated. So just really celebrating that and make it about them. And a lot of the times when people are like, oh, me too, and like try to steal, like, I like to cook and I do this too, but try to have a conversation with someone and just focus on them and dig in more and just say, tell me more about that. What got you into being a scientist? What got you into this realm? Oh, tell me what's the craziest thing about this job, instead of like, oh, me too. I have a sister that does that too, because that takes away from their story. And people like love to talk about themselves. And they're going to come out of it like, wow, I had such a great conversation with Lauren and Travis the other day because they just asked me about me. And you figure out like, wait, I actually don't really know too much about them though, but they'll remember you though, of how you made them feel. It's not exactly what you say, but how you make them feel and what they enjoy. What do they like to do on the weekends, whether it's playing golf, going boxing, scuba diving. What are the fun activities they love doing? And what are their recommendations for certain places? What are their dreams and their aspirations? One question I love to ask are like, what's your 3-year goal from now? What do you want to accomplish within 3 years? And what we always say is like, people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can do in 3 years, and definitely underestimate what they can do in 5 years. Note that like we've been able to build this in just a short amount of time in 5 years. We knew nothing about real estate. We just knew like there's for sale signs and we live in houses. But 5 years ago, we were in the same shoes as you guys of not really knowing much, but just asking the right questions and asking people who are in the realm about them.
I love that. And let's put that in action now, right? So case study here, let's feed your funnel, right? You never know where you're going to find your next deal, who you're going to partner with, who's going to give you that one little nugget that would change your life. I had this guy that when I used to work at Oracle that he was a mentor of mine back in the day. And, I was literally like my first month at work, and I mean, he told me something so basic, but it was like, man, it stuck with me forever. And he's like, dude, just don't have to worry about things that you don't control. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, actually. And I actually reconnected with him recently, and he's a wholesaler now, but he's like, man, dude, I told him that story. I was like, dude, I just appreciate you giving me that advice when I was a young little pup, not really knowing anything. And he's like, dude, I don't even remember that conversation at all. And I'm like, you probably don't, but it helped me change my life a lot. So I really appreciate it. And you're so appreciative of that. So again, you never know where it's going to come from. So always coming with that expectation of giving value without the expectation of anything in return. I think we're so burdened in this society that sometimes, like, especially I live in San Francisco, and it's when you're walking on the street and someone comes up to you, you're like, yo, I don't have any change, right? Like that's like your initial reaction. But it's like, what if you could just give value without the expectation of nothing in return instead? Like how more powerful would that be? How much more of an authentic conversation could you have and a connection, right? We're not really actually going for anything. All right, that's how we found these 12 units right here. We use that forward, really, literally in a conference in Oakland. We met eye contact, me and Jenny, with another couple that, we really liked their energy, like ours. We started talking. I feel like we're like, like group dating or something like that. But literally it was like, they were really cool people. He was Brazilian. They met running at Berkeley. And I know his aspirations was actually, I remember this from the very first time meeting him he's like, I'm writing a book. And I was like, that's so cool. Cause he was trying to, build a school back in his hometown in Brazil. And I was like, that's awesome. We had lunch with him that weekend. We saw him at another event, got lunch with him again. He told us that, he was a general contractor. And again, not expecting anything in return coming out of it. We just started sending him people that we had come across that were looking to do some work on their homes, and that helped him build his business. And he had shared with us, he was like, yeah, like what my aspirations is they own these 12 units that you see behind us right there. And he's like, yeah, I bought these, but we're looking to try to scale up bigger, try to get bigger. And he's like, we're thinking about selling those things and 1031 those. And Jenny was like, you remember that, Jenny? You're like, oh, whoa, we'll buy those. We are going to buy those, manifesting it. And what we do? We bought those from them. So you never know.
We're actually not like planning to sell it, but I think incepted in their minds. I'm like, I'm going to buy your 12 units from you. They weren't planning to scale. I was like, I'm going to buy them. I'm going to buy them. And then we started off with the first 4 units and then bought another 4 and then another 4. So that's our first 12 unit complex. It did take some time, but they remembered us and they actually got offers from other people that were offering higher and higher price than what we were offering. But they knew just from the relationship, they're like, okay, we know you guys, and we just really like you guys, so we'll sell it to you guys. And I think the main thing to remember, like the last step we said about how to win friends and influence people, is smile. And just your smile is infectious, because all we did was just like smile and had energy. And we just did a Tony Robbins event as well too. All we did was just like have energy and smile. And then he picked us to share our dreams. And like out of 3,000 people, like that's where you're like, even through a Zoom call, like through a video, people can feel the energy here. Like I can feel the energy from Emma here and Michelle and husband. I can feel the laugh and the smiles, and it's infectious. Just seeing your smiles and making me smile. And Travis, I see you too, and Anthony. So we just smiled, and they're like coming over to us and asking about us, and then we just asked about them, and I'm gonna buy your 12 units. And say it with affirmation too, and confidence, not like, oh, I want to, like, what does it look like to buy your 12 units, or hopefully we'll buy 12 units. And it was like, I'm going to, or like, I own these 12 units already, and like really like planting that in your head as if it's happened.
Yeah. I am a real estate investor. I own apartment complexes. I own Airbnbs, right? Like it's already happened, because then it'll happen. You're tricking your subconscious. So, I mean, let's review it, right? So where did this deal come from? It came from just networking, right? No brokers were involved, nothing like that. Literally just talking to other people. Where did the money come from, right? It was actually, we did a refinance pretty recently on this, and because Jenny convinced me with her smile to buy this house with her primary house, our DTI was pretty tight, owning Bay Area properties. So, we had got rejected by a couple of banks that wanted to refinance us, but what we did was we worked with a regional bank that was able to be very flexible on what could be counted for in terms of income. Like we have an ADU back here, right? And we rent it out. Cool. He was actually able to count that as part of our debt to income, or as part of our income. So I was able to actually get that. So just understanding, hey, it's not the first bank that rejects me, I can't do it. There's got to be other banks, other people that have access, that have products that can actually get what you need done. Construction of this, had a local contractor on this. We'll go in more into the contractor piece of deals in general. But they helped me redo the house right here. Put $7K into redoing all the floors, all the paints, lights, all that stuff, and got the rent up by like $250 by doing that. And then operations, oh man, we self-manage these puppies at first. Probably one of the biggest mistakes of your life, self-managing. And I remember my low was like having to talk about a tenant about fixing a light bulb, and then he was telling me about like how the hallway smelled like wet dog and stuff, and I was like, man, like what do you want me to do here, man? I don't live there, right? And that was the breaking point, right, of just understanding the value, your self-worth of your own time. And these are $5, $10 an hour tasks that you should not have to be doing, especially if you're trying to scale up your business, right? But also part of the operations piece of it is from your property managers, they do your reporting for you, right? So as a reporting, we'll get into this later too, but doing an evaluation, understand, all right, where are my costs actually going? And what I saw here on this one was, and a lot of people have heard me tell this story before, but we have a really, really high water bill. And I was like, why is this abnormally high? And we understood is like, doing an audit of the homes here, is that something as simple as the toilets that were in these apartments. They were from 1980. And then I guess in 1980s toilet technology has really grown. But in 1980, the per gallon per flush was like 3 gallons or something like that. And the new ones are like a half a gallon. Right. So what we did is we bought $100 toilets and installed them in all the units. And that lowered our bills by hundreds of dollars, and LED lights as well. Just that operating expense right there of just buying toilets, which I never thought I'd be so excited about talking about toilets. And Jenny remembers the day I was like, oh, I cracked the code. All I gotta do is buy toilets. And she's like, I don't care. And I was like, all right, cool. Sounds good. So in review of this deal, after we got all of them, it totaled out to be about $548K. put about $137,000 into it, renovations, paint, floors, all that stuff, about 60K. Right now, they're worth about 960. So our equity gain on that, it's been about 412K. And monthly cash flow from this is about $2,800 a month net. That gives us about a 17% cash on cash return. So again, just by making eye contact, just by smiling, we've helped build our wealth. And I mean wealth, not in terms of just, equity, but wealth in terms of long-term getting our time and our energy back to be able to choose what we want to do. So to recap everything about feeding your funnel and your team, especially, you never know where your deals are going to come from, right? This last month, we got these 3 deals under contract, and they all came from different places. This 23 unit came from a direct to seller campaign. This 10 unit right here was from a broker. This 55 unit was from a wholesaler. We just talked about how we networked, right? So it could come from anywhere. So be open, have a lot of things in your funnel that falls down to you, because you don't want to rely on just one thing. Whew. All right, step number 5, analyze the deal, right? So again, you want to analyze the deal because you want to underwrite it and ensure that this is going to be a good deal. You want to know that you're not buying a freaking lemon that you're going to be stuck with down the road. So what Warren Buffett says is always protect your downside. So questions to ask yourself when you're looking to analyze deals is 1, does this deal get closer? Does this deal get me closer to my goals? Number 2 is, what's the best use of this property? Right? Is it to Airbnb? Is it to long-term rent it out? Is it to flip it? Is it to buy a turnkey? Like, what are the different exit strategies here? And this is something that I always get asked, or I ask as well, is, am I going to be happy with this property in 10 years that I bought this? Right? Because in 10 years, any real estate deal is going to be good. So that's going to help you understand the ins and outs of what makes a good deal good and what makes a bad deal bad. So if I were to do it real quickly here, it's 4-step process of analyzing deals. Or 1, you're going to analyze a deal. Number 2 is you're going to put an offer in, you're going to accept it. And 3, you're going to get more information about that deal, right? When you go into your inspection period, right? You get, you find out that, the roof is cracked or foundation is cracked or whatever it is, right? Cool. Let's reanalyze the deal and see if it still works. Okay. And then step number 4, hey, guess what? Analyze it again, right? Because it's going to be a working document. It's going to change as more information comes in over and over and over again. And to be honest, we can go over deal analyzers all month, right? But today we only have 90 minutes. So what we're going to just do is show you on a high level overview of what ours looks like. And if you want more, we can jump on a call after this meeting as well. But here's a deal. And Christina, I know you're on this call as well, but here's her deal that we have under contract right now. And this is our model that we use. Everything you put in your purchase price, put in what you think rents are going to be, your taxes, your insurance, all your operating expenditures like utilities and property placement fees, things like that. You're going to put in your, CapEx, maintenance stuff, vacancy. We put over here and actually in the projected rents already, what your loan terms are, all that stuff. And why I bring this up is, right now, this is what we evaluated yesterday, but guess what? We got an inspection report today that was scary. There are a lot of stuff in there. Let's see if this deal still works, right? So, I think now it's, instead of having 20K rehab costs, we're going to have like 40K rehab costs. All right. That makes it a lot worse of a deal, but still a good deal because we're doing a 3% down kind of deal. But if we were doing like an 80% down, it's a lot worse of a deal now, right? So to get back to where we were before, what kind of purchase price do we have to get this to make this deal good? I don't really do much, to be honest. So it's all about playing around with the numbers, right? And analyzing deals and reanalyzing it as you get more information. Oh, this is frozen. All right, there you go. Cool. But even the lending in terms right here, like if I change this to 75%, right, it makes it worse, 90%, right? But then you're putting less down. So what is do I have cash? Do I not have cash? Do I want the cash on cash right now? Do I want, the actual, cash amount per month? So again, I'm not going to go over this in detail today. If you want, we can jump on a call after this, but, just understanding, I guess the point is just understanding what triggers each little thing and what makes it, if I switch this over here, is my deal better? What are my numbers? Do I have protection? Have I built in the right things to protect myself in case an AC goes out, in case something goes out down the road, and be proactive about it. So let's go over that case study, right? So that case study is Christina's case study, right? You never forget your first. And so I want to highlight a couple deals here. And first off, before getting into this, I just want to say, love real estate, right? Not because, again, talking about HVACs or freaking toilets and how much money you can save on that, but it's because of what you can do, right? I mean, I got to spend a whole week with Christina, my little sister, in Texas. We were working, right? We were working on converting a long-term rental into a short-term rental that I have out there. And it wasn't really work, right? It was, you got to spend time with family members, the people that you love, doing some fun stuff. Yeah, we were at Cost Plus. Yeah, we were at, I don't really know the other places that we went to buying furniture, but it's like, oh, cool. This is all fun stuff that we're doing. And it's all going toward, a good cause as well. And we're building out, this long-term wealth so we can do this more. So it is that vehicle, right? I don't want us to forget about what we're here doing and why we're doing this. And I know she got super inspired that she did get this little modern farmhouse under contract as an Airbnb. Now, again, we're evaluating it right now and, making sure it's all good to go. But I mean, that's what it's all about right there, guys, is how can I make an impact on the people that I love, right? And so that they can make an impact in their community as well. And that will compound over and over and over again. And I hope she's cool with me sharing this, but I remember when she put the offer in, I think she was in the air flying back from Texas. And as she lands, she calls me up. She's like, Calvin, I got the offer accepted, freaking out. And she said, but I had some time to think about it on the plane. And like, what if this happens? Like, I don't know what the neighborhood, like, what if this doesn't work out, right? That immediate fear comes in that we all go through. I remember, and it's so funny because literally that's the same exact feeling, mindset that I felt like I went through and we all go through in our very first deal, right? You're trying to convince yourself out of it. Like, what if, what if I haven't looked at this right? Am I doing this right? Like, I don't know. Like, what if I mess this up? And it's just easy to ground ourselves and understand, okay, well, why do I feel this way? Maybe it's that lack of knowledge, lack of experience, but it's probably a lot of it is that fear, right? Because we fear the unknown. And, some of you have heard me say this, but I'll say it again because I think it's so powerful, is that, we just got to understand like what fear is, right? Fear is just an emotion. It's an emotion that our bodies created for us as a defense mechanism that we've all had since we were cavemen and cavewomen, when there were freaking saber-tooth tigers out there trying to eat us. So our fear would kick in and say, hey, watch out, don't get eaten by that saber-tooth tiger. But nowadays, there's no saber-tooth tigers, right? There's no dinosaurs. What there is financial fear, right? What if I lose all my money? What if I, go homeless? I can't feed my family, whatever it is. But if we understand, all right, if I surround myself with the right people, get the right knowledge, make sure that I'm doing everything correctly, then I should have no fear, right? Because all the numbers make sense. I've got the right people around me to catch me if I fall. Like, there's nothing to actually fear logically. I'm just feeling this way because it's an emotion. And if I can honor that and say, hey, thank you, body, thank you, mind, for giving me this fear to protect me, but I got this. That's how you kind of break through the next level. I get over that fear and feel empowered to take action. So that's that first case study right there. Another case study I want to highlight was another student of ours, Rob. One of my favorite deals, right? So literally, we got this property from talking to a property manager, just saying, hey, if you're a property manager, I'm trying to get comps from another property, and just asking, hey, do you have anything to sell, or that any owners that are looking to sell? And he's like, actually, I actually might have a couple. Let me call you back. Calls us back. Hey, I got this deal right now, but I need to know, like, in the next couple hours here, or else I gotta go to the next guy, next investor, because I got this guy hot in the coals. So when I say build that habit and build that muscle, is analyze deals until you are Danielson and you're able to block out other things by muscle memory. Right? Because in this hot market right now, you need to know right away, or in the next, in about 10 to 20 to 30 minutes, that you're gonna do a deal or not, right? Because you might miss an opportunity. In this case, boom, home the phone, did a quick deal analyzer, boom, 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 check. Cool, I can do this deal, right? And got this deal done. He bought it for $80,000, put $10,000 in the paint, floors. So he's got $90K all in. He got it appraised for $130,000, 130.5. So he gained about $50K of equity. He refinanced 80% of that, of the appraised value of 104, or of the appraised value. So he took out $104,000 out of the 130. That $104,000 was used to pay back the original $90,000 that he had in this deal. So basically telling him that he had no cash in that deal anymore of his own, so no risk, right? So he was netting about $200 of cash a month. So what's his cash on cash return? If you have no original cash in the deal, is infinite. Infinite percent return is better than 10%, better than 20%, better than 50%. It's infinite, right? And he did all this in 1 month. Hell, I've never even done a burn in 1 month. He did this in 1 month. So kudos for him for getting this deal done, getting locked down, identifying the deal, and getting contractors in there and getting it done fast. And that's what we're talking about money velocity, right? So as we're looking to scale, right? How do we scale? Well, if you can recycle your money over and over and over again, that same 100 grand over and over and over again, you're gonna be in great shape, right? Because you can buy 100 grand, put in a property, get the 100 grand back, own the property, do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And then those properties start growing like seeds until they're big, and then you can start plucking fruit from them as well and buy properties with those properties or trading up. So it's a great case study. It's a great way for him to start out his investing career. That's the very first deal too. Unreal. All right. Step number 6, negotiate. So because we're in a hot market, it means you're going to have to negotiate a good deal into a great deal, right? So understanding why is that seller selling? We have, good indicators are death, divorce, job relocation, upgrade, downsize, family, age. I found is a good one too. Right. So what levers can you pull to make this deal work? And having leverage, and again, another book. I know y'all love books here. I swear, I don't even comment on any of these books, but Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. This guy was a hostage negotiator. Amazing book about just understanding how to negotiate in general. Right. So leverage, as important and equally as important it is to know your why and why you're doing this, it's equally important to understand why are they selling. Right. I have a seller right now, a 23 unit I showed you from that we got from direct to seller. I mean, this guy is selling because he's way over his skis. He took on this big construction project and he doesn't know how to do any of it. And he's like, crap, like I gotta get out of it. This is a cash drain right now on me. And he basically, chewed off something bigger than he could chew. So that's where we come in. No problem. Hey, that's where we come and say, we solve your problems. These are the type of properties that we do, but we want to get compensated for taking on your problem. So another ninja tip I'll say is always have them give the number first, right? Have them say the number. Hey, what would you sell us for? What's the number? Right? Because if you give a number, then you're kind of bind to that. If they give a number, then you can work around that. You could even say lower if you need to. The numbers dictate that. And the third is don't be afraid to walk away from a deal, right? Don't get emotionally attached to a deal. You are not living there. These are investment properties. Do not get emotionally attached, right? Use your spreadsheets. Again, also use your guts. Use your team. Be your boots on the ground to understand, all right, like what should you watch out for in terms of neighborhoods, all that stuff. But emotionally, as an investor, don't get attached, right? Look at the numbers, be logical with it, and make sure that you're buying a good deal. So here's a case study that we had. I call it Burring the Burr, and I'll show you why in a second. But again, I found this from a long-term agent that I've had a good relationship for a long, long time. It's an off-market deal. It was an older gentleman who was an ex-veteran who he was looking to get out of the neighborhood really fast, and he had a lung problem. I think there was like mold or something like that in the place that he just needed to get out of there. He was asking about $110,000 for the place. I got under contract for 90 grand because we negotiated. But as we negotiate more, right, we were in contract. We found during the inspection period that there was a huge plumbing issue. And I put air quotes out there because huge is relative, right? So we saw it. We're like, oh my God, this is terrible. And, was it that bad? No. Like we had to fix for a couple grand. But what we said is like, man, we had to repipe this whole thing. That could be like 30 grand, right? Because mentally, we knew that that seller had already spent that money. I also knew that he already had an offer out in our house that he got accepted. So I knew he wasn't going to try to back out of this deal, and he wanted to get this done because he needed that money to get to that other house. So again, know that person's why. So we use the plumbing and the inspection report as leverage. Oh my God, like, I don't know about this. I'm okay walking away from this deal. Like this could be really expensive for us, right? So what we did, and had a really good real estate agent here, was able to negotiate that price down to 72,000, 72,500. Right, so we went from 110 to 90 to 72.5, right? Each step of the way, you're analyzing deals, you're making sure the numbers work. Each step of the way, you're making sure that you can negotiate to make it work as well. So we're plugging that into our spreadsheets. We're plugging that in with all the new data that we have. And then the rehab process, right? So this wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. Our first contractor went missing. This guy got deported halfway through the project, right? That's no fun. You're like, all right, well, cool. I'm only 4,000 miles away. Like, what am I going to do now? But luckily, this is where having your systems in place protects you, right? So having contracts in place, having payment schedules. Big tip that we use is you want to be able to pay for the materials yourself, because if that contractor goes missing and he has material, that you pay for, guess what? You lose the material cost, you gotta buy the material again. Right? So I have a Home Depot Pro card. Right? My contractor, we're doing work on this house again. I'm buying all the material again. So that's how you can protect yourself, putting contracts in place, making sure that you have the right payment plans as well, so that you're not paying out for work that hasn't been done. And this also goes back to their peace of mind as well, is that they're really good at being craftsmen, being good project managers, right? But take some of that load off of them, like be the business partner that you need them to be, and take off the contracts and all that stuff off their plate so that you can go in and basically say, hey, cool, I got this. So numbers on this one, about 72K, we bought it cash, rehabbed about 25K. So all in we were about 97K. We refinanced it. We got a 75% loan to value. It priced for about a 155. So we got 116 back. We used that 116K back. We paid off the 97K that we put into it originally. Got a little bit of money out of it as well. And rented it for about $1,200 a month. Our expenses were about $1,000. So we were cash flowing about $156 a month. So this is really cool because one, you have cash flowing assets, and you have your capital back. And guess what? Just like the other example we showed, you can do it again and recycle that same money over and over and over again and watch it grow. Who likes that? Who likes spending the same money over and over again to build a portfolio? Give me a clap. Give me one of those emojis that we were talking about before. Awesome. All right, we are at our last step here, guys. Evaluate and track your portfolio. Right? Knowledge is power. Right? So knowing how your property is performing, like, wouldn't you think that's important to actually know data? Like, all right, cool. Like, it's actually doing what I said it was going to do. Right? So you want to know what that is because once you start tracking data, you can find anomalies in the data. Right? So operating expenditures. Our property managers ripping me off. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that story where I fired my property manager because they were stealing from me. They were stealing from me. Like, what the heck? Like, people are stealing people's money. It's like, wow, just double check, right? Trust but verify. And operating expenditures, and I think I mentioned that before, like just understanding, well, why is my water bill so high? Do I need to buy low flow toilets and put them in there? Right? Like, you wouldn't be able to find that if you didn't know the numbers on that. So like we're doing numbers every month and looking at it every month, making sure it looks good. All right, wait, what's not me? All right, let me go talk to my property manager about that. So that's one piece of evaluating and tracking a portfolio. The other piece of scale of tracking a portfolio is, where's my return on equity? All right, is there a better use of my equity? Right, so return on equity is what's my annual cash flow divided by my equity. Right, so what that does is, instead of return on investment, which is, hey, this is, if I buy $100,000 property, I put 20% down, I'm putting 20K into the property. Right, I get $1,000 from that, then when divided by 20%, I'm getting a 5% return on that. But what return on equity is as your property starts to grow in value, like everything is right now, you have a lot of equity sitting in one property. So I got a 10% return on equity versus a 10% return on my initial investment. I'm gonna get a lot more cash flow if I got a 10% return on equity versus just return on investment that I made. So unlock the equity that you have and keep on looking at, what is the best use of this property? Should I be selling this property? Should I be 1031 exchanging to another property that cash flows more? Right. So we do this more on maybe a half year to year basis, looking at the return on equity. Okay, this property's grown. This is what cash flow is. Are we making enough money, or can I make more money doing something else, finding something in our project? So let's go back to our case study over here. Bird of the bird, right? So we did our first bird. These are the numbers, right? We're evaluating and tracking it. So we know them right now from the original bird was $156 a month cash flow. Our annual cash flow was about $1,872. Now the current value is about 180. So now we have 64K of equity in that. So our return on equity is only 2.9%. Crap. Okay. Well, what else should I do? Should I sell this place? Should I do something differently with this place? So evaluating it, what we saw is if I refinance it on the new value of 180K, I can pull another 20K out into it, do furniture, landscaping, bathrooms, cosmetics, some touch-up work. And how much more can I get in rent if I do that? Well, right now was getting $1,200, but if I Airbnb it, you can get $4,447 a month. Oh crap, okay. That's an increase of $30,247 a month more by putting in an initial 20K, right? That's 38K a year more. So what's your return on investment there? Getting an investment of 20K and I'm putting 30 and I'm gaining 28K more a year. I don't know. I ran out of fingers, but I'm pretty sure that's a good return. So that's what we're doing right now with this, is turning that long-term rental into a short-term rental. We're burring the burr again. We're burring it twice, essentially, pulling money out and then increasing cash flow while doing it. The alternative of this too is also, hey, maybe we sell it and then exchange it. Those are the two options that were coming into my mind. So I just understand that each deal is different. So other examples of this, Jenny, I'll let you talk about this this beauty of a deal.
Yeah, awesome. So some people might be like, how do I get started, and might not have necessarily like all this cash to put in 70, 100K into a deal. So you don't necessarily need that much. And my first deal I bought in February 2017, and I bought it for $69,900, and it was in Huntsville, Alabama. And why I picked Huntsville is super random. I heard a podcast where it's growing and it's the smartest IQ per capita because NASA is out there and there's a lot of data scientists out there. I was like, okay, I'll just follow where the smart people are. And I bought my first house that I was house hacking. And there's something called debt to income ratio, where right now with current interest rates, you can borrow about 5 to 6 times what you make. So let's say if you make $100,000, you can borrow $500,000 to $600,000 if you have decent credit. And I was pretty much maxing my debt to income ratio at that time, and was like, okay, I can maybe afford another 50K loan max. So I looked at areas of where there was properties that I can invest in. So picked Huntsville, Alabama, and got a loan for about $55,000, and then put down $17,500. And for this property, I made the same mistake. I was like trying to property manage myself. When everyone asks like, oh, you have out-of-state rentals, do you manage your own properties or do you hire a property manager? Before, both Cav and I were trying to manage our own, because like, let's just save that $80 a month on or $100 a month, because then that'll be more cash flow for us. But we realized that that was the worst idea ever, because the tenant knew that I was an out of area person, this young girl out of area in California, and he was paying rent the first few months, but then stopped paying rent. And he was also a smoker and like smoked inside the house, and I told him not to smoke inside the house. So we had to repaint, we had to evict him. And the great thing, unlike in California, the laws in other places, and mostly in the Midwest and in the South, it is very landlord friendly versus tenant friendly. So we were able to get the tenant out when they weren't paying rent for a couple months, and I got them and evicted them. And it was an easy process, didn't have to go through any legal lawsuits. And upped the rent to $795 a month and got $100 per month cash flow, which was pretty sweet for me at that time. I'm like, oh, I'm actually making some money on this. And then what we did last year, in March 2020, my tenants decided to leave, and it's like, okay, it was an uncertain time. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to sell it, and I want to buy that last fourplex. So the same story from back earlier, the Oakland couple that we met, when I said, I'm going to buy your 12 units. So we bought 8 of them already. So there's another 4, but we didn't have enough money to buy it. So decided to sell this property, do a 1031 exchange. The property equity went up from the $69,900 to, and I sold it for $115,000. So after the commissions and paying off the loan went down to about $48,000 at that time. I put a little extra in, all the cash flow I got in, I just put back into the deal, because at that time, interest rates I got was 5.625. Right now, interest rates are so low. They're around 2.625 for your first property and 3.5% for your investment property. I was paying 2% more than that at 5.625. So, and then back when my parents were looking at homes, and when many of your parents in, let's say that like 70s and 80s, the interest rate at that time was 18%. And people were still buying properties. So we're getting free money out there at 3%. Inflation is about 3%. And if the interest rates are about 3%, you're actually losing money by not borrowing from the bank. So that's what the thought process was. And I used the money, had $45,000, and The great thing about real estate is that there's something called a 1031 exchange where you can defer all your capital gains tax. So if I sold this property from 70,000, sold it for 115, I would have had to pay gains on that tax about $45,000, a little less after commissions, and be a 30% tax bracket. But now I was able to save that 10,000 and keep it into this deal, this last fourplex, and bought it for $188,000, put 45,000 down, which is about 30K at that time, 25, 30K with closing costs, and was able to increase the rent. So the first last year when we bought it, it was just $600 cash flow, but just doing slight improvements such as improving the toilets and changing the toilets out, and these minor things, we're able to increase the cash flow to $900 a month now. And that's gearing to get to about $11,000 per month. And it doesn't have a 1031 exchange, doesn't have to be in the same state. You can also sell one property. Let's say if you have a property worth $1.5 million in San Francisco Bay Area, which is like the medium home price, you can sell it and buy 3 properties in other areas for $500,000 each, or even 10 properties for $150,000 each. And just think about how much more growth you'll be able to get and scale from there.
Yeah. So just to recap that, I mean, scale like $15,000 down. It was literally Jenny's first deal right there, and turned that into $900 cash flow a month using the same exact 15 grand that she originally used. Right. So people say, oh, got time in the market, time in the market is going to be huge, right? Scale that up, use your assets to buy more assets, go big as fast as you can. I was just at a conference with Brandon Turner from Reader Pockets, and his big advice was, yeah, just go as big as you can, as fast as you can. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. So, but using, little deals like this can get you to these deals faster too, because they can be your little seed of getting there faster and using those to buy those. And same thing, last example here, but yeah, again, real estate's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a marathon. There's a snowball effect. And you probably saw that from our journey in the very beginning is, you start at 2 units and you get 4 units, and it's just slowly coming down the hill. And then eventually it's getting massive momentum. And now it's on a roll by itself. And that's where you get to, right? But it takes time. And same here, this is my first property. I bought this, it was also cash from about $100 a month, bought it for $140K, had about $95K of equity. And I just moved that over to this apartment complex here. Use that $95K as part of the down payment. This is actually a lot. This is wrong. Actually, we're getting like 35 to 40 grand a month on this right now of net cash flow. So again, taking some of this down payment or taking some of this equity and putting it as part of some of this down payment of a bigger apartment complex. This is a 16 unit out in Huntsville, Alabama. To make that cash flow is pretty incredible. So again, use your assets to buy more assets, to go as big and as fast as you can. All right, guys. Well, I want to take a step in a moment here to kind of hear some feedback from you guys, right? I want to hear from you guys what you've found out is possible with yourself, or what you learned. What are some takeaways? So let's just get like 2 to 3 quick shares, and then we'll go over what's next. So I'll call on some people unless someone wants to volunteer. Can we get people off mute? Is that a thing? All right, Taylor, I'm gonna go to you, man, because you're not on my screen.
Yeah. So specifically, what question am I answering? Just imagine what's possible.
Yeah, imagine what's possible. What from tonight's call have you now figured out? Hey, like that's possible, or inspiring, or even just whatever nugget you took away.
Yeah. One of the struggles I've had. So we own 2 properties. Our first primary residence we moved out of and have rented that out, and it's worked out really well for us. Calvin, you and I chatted it a couple months ago, and one of the struggles I've had is like, don't ruin a good thing. We're making money on it. Things are okay. But like, just the go big as fast as you can is resonating with me, because I've been fearful of like, don't screw it up versus what's possible. And part of it has been because I haven't had the systems in place. I've been my family's been fortunate to make good purchasing decisions with our 2 houses. And again, just wanting to make sure that I have the systems in place to analyze deals, recognize when there's good opportunity, and recognize when it's time to walk away, even though, I have a good thing going right now.
Yeah, 100%. It's tough, and it's definitely one of those things that, all right, what is the best use of me and my time, and is that going to get me to? I know for you, it's spending more time with your kids, right? Your young kids. So I appreciate the share, Taylor. Thank you. All right, let's get one more. Anyone feel called, or I'm just gonna start picking out random people here?
I'll chat. Another little nugget that came for me was just the conversations that you mentioned and the forward and growing your network. I never, I joined you guys for the Tony Robbins this weekend, and Henry, another one of the students, asked me some question about Indianapolis. I'm from Indianapolis. He was just inquisitive about the area, and I said, I'm not really familiar with that little area. Send me the stuff and let me see if my sister can drive over there, or if we can get someone on the ground to see what's going on. And now, after him sending that to me, like, there's potentially a partnership right there, and a potential 16 unit partnership. Just from a very short conversation of saying, oh, didn't you live in Indianapolis at one point? And growing that into a potential partnership that he could have been a stranger in the grocery, it's just, you never know when that next opportunity is going to be there. And a small conversation can lead to such large things. And so it's always having that confidence to ask for someone's contact information. Don't ever be afraid to ask for their name, their phone number, their email. They want to get to know you. They're having a conversation because they're interested in you and you them. So. Yeah,
I love it. And that's amazing to hear that you guys might be doing that deal together. I think Chad was talking about that earlier. So
yeah, he's super excited.
Yeah. Dang.
And no, it's one of those things where if it weren't for you guys and this just reminding people of that mindset, I wouldn't have brought Chad this weekend, maybe, and Chad wouldn't have talked to him, and we may not have had that. But without this connection and those conversations and just having that mindset, you miss those opportunities that could be huge.
Yeah, I love it. And to Chad too, I think he's on the call too. So I appreciate the share, Ashley.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Hi, thank you. Very interesting. Thank you for your time tonight. Unfortunately, I've been kind of in and out due to some work requirements, but I do have a quick question for you. What is your general opinion of, this seems to be more, house and apartment building oriented. What's your opinion of doing this versus commercial investment?
Yeah, so you're talking about like industrial, retail, things like
Well,
that?
Like, let's say I was to buy a commercial building that had a liquor store and a hair salon and a, military recruitment. I've had opportunities like that. People with, good long leases and, viable businesses. I mean, because it seems that some commercial properties, of course, obviously they're more expensive, but they can pay you more rent.
Yeah. It's a good question, right? So again, like where your gaps are right now, you want to build a team that knows how to do that already, right?
Yes.
So you know those properties like retail, industrial, mixed use, right? Like figure out how to do it, right? So even right now, I'm looking at a 25 unit Airbnb conversion from a condo that the HOA is going bankrupt because they were timeshares before, and it's an auction. I've never done any of those things, right? So what we're looking for right now is partners to figure out, all right, well, what are our blind sides that we need to look out for? Who's been through an HOA being bankrupt and a timeshare conversion from condos to apartments, right? So I would say the same thing there is, yeah, if the numbers work out, great, but find someone that's been doing that before, be that invaluable partner for them and bring it to the table and be the partner there and then learn.
Right.
And then,
so your basic message is that your methodologies can work for, houses, Airbnbs, commercial properties, pretty much anything, just finding the right deal.
Yeah, 100%. So it's just the foundation, right? I mean, this is the foundation of who you need to be able to do those type of deals. Like, who do you need to be? I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. I can't really see.
My name's Michael Harris. Sorry.
Oh, Michael. Nice to meet you.
Hi, and nice to meet you as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, just understand, who do you need to become to do that deal, and who you need to surround yourself with?
Well, I know my goals. I know what I want to be. I know, what we're trying to do. We're just trying the best way to do it. I mean, maybe we could talk about this on a more offline level, but I have a sizable amount of cash that I can invest. But I'm just trying to figure out, well, what should I do with it? What's the
$1 million question right there, Michael.
right? And it's $1 million. That's what I have. I have $1 million. Should I buy 10 houses or should I buy a commercial property? You know what? I'm not sure what to do. And so this has been great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Michael. And you know, thanks for the segue too, because I'm gonna get to this in a second here. So what is next? Right. So I promised in the beginning that we would take a minute to share what we can do to support. So if that's okay with you guys, I'd love to do that now. But we went through a lot of information today. Right. So who here got a ton of value or feels inspired to go take action? Can I get some claps? Can I get some, I don't know, running around in your house? I can't even see it anyways, but whatever. Heck, I mean, we wish there were more things like this when we started out too. And if you're feeling excited, if you're feeling inspired, hell, if you're even feeling overwhelmed, that's completely normal. Because like I said before, like being comfortable, being uncomfortable is where the biggest growth is. Now, the worst thing that you can do after a session like this is do nothing. Like, don't go back and go turn on Tiger King, whatever, and do nothing, right? You've already invested the time in yourself today. So ensure that you're going to do one thing, right? Go gain momentum somewhere. And what we do at Zen Coach University, if you guys don't know who we are a coaching community that helps you get to your vision faster, right? By giving you a roadmap, giving you the tools, giving you a strategy that's personalized for you from people who've done it before, right? And it's surrounding yourself with like-minded people to keep you accountable and inspired, right? Because you are the 5 people you surround yourself with, so that you can build that foundation and mindset that Michael, we were just talking about, so that you feel empowered with knowledge and confidence to go take some massive action. So that if your kid asks you in the morning if you could drive him to school, you don't have to say no. I can't because I have to go to work. You can say, yeah, I can. So before I open it up for Q&A, what I want to do is I want to make an invitation to each and every single one of you for spending time with us. If you want some help with this roadmap, if you want to be around like-minded people, get more one-on-one coaching so that you can live the life that you were supposed to. We try to limit the amount of people that we bring in so we can give everyone the proper attention into our program. So we're limiting it to about 20 more spots for the rest of the year. But this is where you can book an interview with us. Jenny, if you can put zencoachuniversity.com into the chat box, this is where you can book a call with us. And I'm going to show you how to do it. Basically, just go to our website, zencoachuniversity.com. This is what it looks like here. And literally just schedule a call. Just put your name, email, schedule today. That will take you to a application, which will then take you to my Calendly, and we can book a call that way. So Michael, you want to chat offline about just going over what you just talked about? Boom, name, email, application, and then book a call on my Calendly.
I'm doing it right now. Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
All right.
And then for the people who are asking, people are from all around the country here, but even if you are from different states, we're in San Francisco, we're a local real estate team. So we're here to be able to help service you and be able to find you a house hack or your next deal, and also can refer you to an agent. From our last webinar, we had people who were from North Carolina and Hawaii. So we were able to refer great, amazing agents around the country from our network to you. So if you're looking for a certain area, just send us an email or look on zencoasthomes.com and go on contact me, and you'll be able to send a message of where you're looking for and schedule a call with us as well too.
Awesome. And we'll leave you with this, guys, before we get to Q&A. So it's a Tony Robbins quote, and this is a picture of Jenny talking to Tony Robbins on a one-on-one this last week. In moments of decision, destiny is shaped. Right? There's so many times in our life, Jenny and I, is that we're at that moment of decision. Do we do this? Do we not do it? And that shaped our lives. And, we're pretty happy with where we're at right now. So with that being said, we took a lot of time here, but I'll be open to questions as long as people have questions. So everyone can unmute and let's rock. Who's got some questions? Oh, don't be shy now.
I got a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
What made you choose Zen Coast University?
The name?
Yeah, what made you choose the name?
Jenny?
Yeah, I love to share with that. So there's a lot of programs out there, but what we realized, there was a lot of raw and outward energy. But what we realized is there's a lot of energy within, and your body is so powerful. And to be able to get that energy, it's going to be through really figuring out your mind and the powers of your body and the different parts of it. So through meditation and through visualization, as the story I shared earlier of visualizing the house that we're sitting in. Calvin's downstairs in the office, we're upstairs in my office here, and we have all these other bedrooms and the ADU that we have, and my parents to be in this house. So we really focus on that and the visualization aspects of Zen. And Zen also exemplifies peace of mind as well too. So peace of mind solutions. Z is also the last letter of the alphabet. So with Zen, we want to teach you from A to Z of different strategies from investing. And we're also learning with you too. We are students in this journey, and we're constantly growing and learning too. So we are teaching you from the fundamentals, how to get a loan, how to invest in different areas locally, out of area, how to talk to contractors, how to talk to people in general. And then the side is that we want you to be able to coast through your life and just be able to live a life, a fulfilling life, and be able to travel coast to coast. We love traveling. We're going to have our wedding in Singapore in Sentosa Island in December, end of December next year. If you guys want to fly out for the after party, you guys are all invited too. So happy for you guys to show up. And the other thing, it's also going to be a tax write-off. So there's a lot of great things for that. But the coast side is to be able to coast through your life and travel coast to coast. The university piece is the community aspect that a lot of other educational platforms don't have, where you're just watching videos and you don't have that camaraderie of a different team. So that's how we came up with Zen Coast University. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. Sylvia, I see your question on the 102 doors. Is it just you two or with partners, different sets of partners? So 90% of our portfolio, we own all ourselves, but as we start to realize the scale piece, and this is a big mindset shift that I've made as well, of like, all right, instead of saving then buying, that's going to take a long time. But if you can go and find partners that can help you grow and scale faster, that's what we're trying to do now. So now we're opening it up more to partners and getting into bigger and bigger deals.
Hey, Calvin, thanks for your time, and thank you, Jenny, for your time today. I've been eating, that's why my video is off. So I didn't hear what you were describing about your first deal. That was like a really good learning lesson. What was that deal again, or what happened there? What was that investment?
Yeah, so well, you mean the joint partnership or the actual deal of when we owned a property?
Oh no, I think it was where you didn't get your money back on some sort of investment. I missed what exactly that was.
Yeah. So that lesson was, you gotta trust, instead of just blindly trusting people, like putting contracts in place, making sure that you're doing your due diligence on someone, because someone could say everything, but the actions speak louder than the words. So now, and so to your point too, why we actually did a lot of stuff ourselves was, we were kind of shell shocked from that, right? Like picking the wrong people, because as many as there are good people out there, good authentic people in this world, there's equally people that want to screw you over too. Mm-hmm. Right. So that skill that was learned in that was just identifying who's full of crap.
Right.
Right.
And
so
you were investing in what again? Sorry, that's what I was.
Oh, it was a flip in San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. All right, Michelle, and we'll go to Lauren. Michelle, you got a quick question here. I qualify for a first-time homeowners program, which usually requires me to purchase a place for my price already. Okay, so knowing this is available for me, should I use this program on a lower cost property or a higher cost property, or should I not use the program and just buy what I want as a rental income generating property? So this is we'll put this on a gray area conversation right now, but yeah, I would try to maximize your leverage on that, because if you're putting 3% down, like, hey, you can put only 3% down on $1 million property, your money's going further. Now, with that being said, could you buy a rental income generating property with that? Sure. I mean, you could look at house hacks. You could look at rental income. I mean, everyone being able to be remote nowadays, you can make the argument that, hey, I'm going to live in that property, right? And your intention should be, hey, I'm going to for a little bit, but then I'm renting it out. right? So, yeah, so I to answer your question, yeah, I would try to leverage as much as possible right now because, like Jenny mentioned, money is cheap. And what is the government doing right now? They're printing a lot of it. So the supply money is also going up, which means the dollar's going down. So hard assets, like a real estate, is going up in value just based off the money supply. And interest rates are low, so you can lock in low debt at a 30-year term for only putting 3% down. Incredible tool. Lauren, I'll go to you. What's up, Lauren?
What's up? What's up?
You mind, by the way?
What?
Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
And just a little background information on me. Hi, everyone. I'm actually in the Zen Coast University currently, loving every minute of it. Shout out to Jenny, Calvin, performance coach, MD, super amazing people. Haven't been in it for very long. I want to say it's even been less than like 2 months, and feel like there's just so many knowledge gems that have been kind of dropped. One of my questions I had was, what's your method in screening out good contractors?
What's funny? Do I have my contractor on this call right now? Where is she? Oh yeah, she's there. She's walking away. All right. Anyways, so
You're like, okay, good. She's
a bad contractor is. So it's understanding. Okay, well, if I'm asking questions to them, what are they answering with? And honestly, I'm telling you my inner secrets right now. So don't when you see me working this with you, don't now you know where. But just like asking them, like, all right, if I'm in a good area or I'm in a bad area, and I'm like, all right, well, what material do you think I should put in here? And they're like, oh, you should put quartz. Well, hang on, why? Are you looking out for my best interest here, or are you looking out for me as an investor, right? So I want someone that's going to get my back in terms of like, all right, well, actually, in this area, you don't need anything like that, right? Let's go to the lower grade. We're good to go here. So contractors, especially with that, understand what their systems are, what their wait times are, how they would deal with a certain situation. So, you could even say on like a handyman or contractor, like, hey, if XYZ was broken, how would you go about that? And see what the process is. Hey, I'll just go ahead and replace it. Versus, hey, actually a cost saving item might be just doing this instead. Right. So those kind of answers right there are the things to look for. And then another thing too is, hey, I want to use my contracts, right? So Lauren, we have our contracts in our system that we want everyone to use. And the contractor says, hey, I'm not going to use this contract. We want to use mine. Well, why? Like, I want to use mine because I know I can protect myself that way. And honestly, when Joe screwed me over, I had those contracts in place, so it didn't screw me over as bad as it could have, right? Because we had those contracts in place. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question long-windedly, but that's what I would look at.
It really did. Thank you. I have another additional question, but I can definitely ask after someone else, maybe like an office
you're already on now, so might as well just ask it.
Okay, true. So this actually is a question for Jenny. I know that before I actually joined Zen Coast, I actually looked at one of your podcast episodes that you nicely shared, and you mentioned that you used the HELOC for your first property. Why did you use the HELOC versus a cash out refi? Just curious if there were pros and cons or anything like that.
Yeah, and great, thanks for asking. So a HELOC, if people don't know, it's a home equity line of credit. So I actually leveraged my parents' home equity line of credit, and transparently, they went with like a Chinese bank and was able to get that home equity line of credit because their income is not that high. So they couldn't refinance the property because of their income, but Chinese banks have more kind of leverage back at that time, where they look more at like P&Ls versus like W-2s and such. So my parents had a line of credit on their house. So what a home equity line of credit is a second loan on the property. So let's say if you have bought a property, let's say put $400,000, like let's say $800,000 down, and then over time it increased to $1.4 million, which these are actually the numbers my parents had bought their house for, and then the equity was up to $1.4 million, and they put 20% down, but then the equity gained from the $400,000, so now we have $600,000 of equity in the house. So then they paid off the loan, and after like 10 years, we had the home equity line of credit. The loan is a little less, but now they pulled a second loan versus refinance the property, they pull the second home equity line of credit and treat that as like a credit card. You only pay interest when you use it versus a refinance. You pay the interest the day you refinance the property, and you have to pay that higher interest amount for that greater amount, let's say $1 million. So they just had a $400,000 home equity line of credit. And I was 23 years old at the time. I had barely any money. I was working at Oracle my first couple of years. I think I was even 2 years working in, and I saved a little money, maybe like 10, 20K, but actually invested $50,000 on my credit card and invested in a real estate coaching program, and realized it was a better investment than paying for like grad school, because it was able to really scale up tremendously for me. So for that long-winded answer, was able to buy a house with no money down, with all money borrowed from the bank. I got a loan. I was able to qualify for up to $470,000, got a $400,000 home equity line of credit from my parents, and put that to buy an $870,000 house, and rented out the other rooms in the house for $1,250. Emma was actually like a roommate with me for a portion of time as well too. So even sometimes would house hack my room when I stayed at Calvin and lived for free. So there's a lot of hacking going on. So was able to do that, start somewhere. That 870 house is now worth on Zillow like 1.384, and that was 2016. It's 5 years later. And I did do a cash out refinance afterwards though, because I was able to qualify for the loan.
Gotcha. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, of course. I see Anthony raising your hand.
Hey everyone, my name is Anthony and this is my girlfriend Kay. I'm also a Zen Coast University student. I interviewed with Jenny the week of my birthday, so it was very memorable. It was like the weekend of my birthday. And so it's been about 4 months now, a little bit further down than Lauren. And I just got an offer on a house in Alabama. So I'm realizing my dreams already. So it's pretty amazing. And I know I couldn't have done it like this fast without Zen Coast University. So yeah, just a quick shout out to you, Calvin, MD, Jenny, all the other coaches. Like, you guys are great. My question for you guys is, I kind of wrote my vision down, my dreams and my aspirations. But what's a good way to like keep up with those visions and maintain that vision and like manifest it? Like, what do you guys do to, keep it up, I guess?
Yeah, I can go first, Jenny, and you go after. So having your vision visible as many times as possible. Like, I know Taylor, one of our students, she literally framed her vision in her room so you can read it all the time. I have mine on my whiteboard. I have all the reminders on my whiteboard. And then I think the exercise that we did in Yosemite too is just always saying those affirmations of who you need to become to be that new identity. Right. So Anthony, I know I shared with you my vow, right? Being a value creator, action taker, leader, visionary entrepreneur. I said it every day in the showers over and over again until I've tricked my subconscious today. Oh, I am, right? That's who I want to become. That's who I need to become. So having that vision, right? An accessible place that you can see the long-term vision, but also then, so I have the big board of my big vision, but then I have the small little habits every day, right? So I have my big 3 every day. I have a whiteboard right here that literally talks about the 3 things that I need to get done this week. That's going to be the small habits that will get me to my vision, right? Because if we focus so much on the outcome always, the big outcome, it's going to be sometimes daunting, right? Because it's so overwhelming, it's so big, right? So, but what is not as big is, hey, if I just make a quick call today to a broker, I make 10 minutes, maybe call every day to a broker. That seems very doable versus have $100 million net worth, right? That seems like, wow, that's really far away, but focus on the small things. So I don't know, Jen, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah. So for my vision, the beginning of this year in January 2021, I shared at the end of this year what my vision was. And some of the things I wanted to accomplish was for my parents to see me get engaged this year. And that happened So
Dang.
we actually,
Dang, I got manifested. Dang.
Flashing the rock.
Dang, I got manifested so hard.
but actually, like Calvin was planning it for Hawaii and all these other times, but things just didn't go right, and just somehow happened when we were in New York and asked when my parents were there. So that meant a lot, and just saying it out loud and sharing it with enough people. Maybe I shared it with like Steph and my whole team every single day, and I was just like, this is my vision, and I feel like the word just got out. That's how supposed to. And I remember we were at 37 units at the beginning of the year, and we're still in negotiations for some others. And I said that our goal was to have 100 units by the end of this year. So we scaled from like 20 something to 30 something. And that was a very scary jump going to buying a 16 unit. It was our first large investment complex in a commercial loan. So going to 100 units was very, very scary, but I think we just said it enough times to enough people, and people knew our goals, and then deals started coming. We got a 56 unit under contract from one of these other agents who just was on a mailing list, on a wholesalers list. Adam Chin, not related to Calvin, but he sent me this deal, and I was like, Calvin, do you want to look at this? And he's like, actually, this is a great deal. So we have a 56 unit under contract, and that's where by the end of this year, like we're probably going to be at 150 plus. And I saw some people put in, they're looking for deals out there. So just share your vision of what you want with enough people, and then they're going to help you get there, but also helping other people with their vision too. And I had a conversation with Emma, my good friend, and she was like, oh, like how did you know to bring your first hire? And how do you know to bring on someone else? Because hiring, I'm scared about that cost. And I brought on Ashley Huang on my team, and paying for payroll initially, I was like very scared to like be in charge of someone's life and their livelihood, and like making sure that they have food on the table. But it pushed me harder too. So bringing someone else that you're going to help with their vision actually help with my vision more. And bring on, if it's something where we have Audrey on this call. So Audrey is in the Philippines. She's a virtual assistant and working crazy hours from like midnight to, I guess, like 12 lunchtime right now, or even later. So thank you so much. But like hiring a virtual assistant could be the first like step that is not as scary as hiring like a full-time W-2 employee on your team. Hopefully that helps with.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I think so. One that I learned is share my vision with other people. Have smaller goals too, which is important because I don't think I have my top 3 every day. So I'm going to start doing that. And I should really start repeating my vision to myself to manifest it, honestly. Thank you guys.
Welcome. We'll probably end it right at 8:30. So we'll just take conversations. If you want to raise your hand, I see a few questions coming in the chat, but we'll prioritize whoever is willing to put their faces on screen and share their questions.
Oh, snap. We're going to put their face on screen.
Yeah, I have one. So can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we're good, Max. What's up, man?
Okay, cool. All right, hey, nice to see you. So I'm curious of how to do essentially HELOC on an investment property, and the options there I've noticed are pretty limited for convention, like most banks and credit unions and that sort of stuff. So there is a way. I'm asking the group, the universe here, how to do it, because it's pretty impactful in my North Star.
Yeah, I mean, so I think you maybe mentioned it too already. I think you answered my question, man. The line of credits are definitely a way to do that. I mean, lines of credits are essentially HELOCs on investment property. Yep. So when you take your portfolio and do it, I mean, you're basically leveraging the equity in your portfolio to, leverage that to get a line of credit from a bank to say, hey, cool, let me go use that money to buy other properties.
Yep.
And I think your question, Maxwell, is like for investment properties, because you can usually get a home equity line of credit easily on your primary. There are some banks that might be able to do on your second home, or, but I think might be like Union Bank might be the only one that I've heard of. I don't know. The loan products consistently change week by week. So that's where you have to call and reach out. I would reach out to credit unions and your local small bank as well too, and like put $2,000 in their checkings account and create an account and build a relationship and talk to like their branch manager or like their like VP there, because you can talk to a VP direct in these small banks. Like we talked to a bank called Happy Bank in Texas. Like initially they said like you have to wait 6 months before you refinance on like after buying a property. And we're like, no, like we have this burr, we want to pull our money out. And we were able to find Happy Bank and some other local small banks to be able to do it. So it's just being very creative and talking to enough people. And I think there's some lenders out there, but we'll keep an eye out for you.
Yeah,
and everyone else keep an eye out for Maxwell too.
No, and Max, man, like in terms of your investment properties, like there's portfolio lenders that will lend on lines of credits on your portfolio, even if they're investment properties, right? So there are banks like that, portfolio lenders. I do have a contact at CBRE Lending that does that. So I can share with that after the call.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it, man. Okay, Robert,
yeah, I can ask my question if you want me to.
Guys. Why not?
Yeah, thanks, Calvin and Jenny. I feel like we're supposed to meet at another point in time sooner, but this is when it's supposed to be. Yeah, my question was, I'm also kind of in a similar predicament of whether or not I buy primary residence in a very high cost of living area and essentially use up all of my DTI, or rent or go much smaller and then use that to invest out of state. So looking back at your journey, do you think doing the house hack slowed down your journey? Or if you could go back in time, like, would you do exactly the same thing? Or, would you have rented and then put more money out of state?
So, yeah, Robert. So I'll first say this, there's no wrong answer there, right? Either path that you choose, you're going to make it work, right? Whether it's a house hack first or buying rental properties and scaling that way. Now, if I were to look back at our personal experience, man, we loved it, right? It's amazing. House hacking is probably one of the best things that you can do because one, you're limiting your biggest expense yourself, right? Which is going to be rent or mortgage payments, whatever it is. So then what you're doing is you're increasing, even if your income stays the same, but you're decreasing your expenses. So now your gain every year is adding up. Plus, you're now adding in equity that you're building in because your tenants are paying down equity every year. And on top of that, you're getting the appreciation off the higher price point, right? And then you can leverage that for a HELOC or refinance or, all that stuff down the road. And then you get the depreciation, the tax benefits too. So looking back at it, yeah, it does hurt the DTI a lot, but you're gonna find a way around it. Whether it's going through a portfolio lender, going through a hard money lender, being creative, finding partnerships of people that maybe do have better debt to income that you can leverage to partner on a deal to go find a deal, right? So there's ways to do it. Either way that you choose, Robert, man, like you're gonna be successful in it. Just gotta stick with the path and be consistent about it. And Stags, so house hacking basically means, and I think you're house hacking, you're doing it right now, dude, but essentially like if you have rooms, you have 4 bedrooms, you're renting out 3 of the other bedrooms, and those 3 other bedrooms that you're renting out are paying for the whole, or as close to it as possible, your whole mortgage, right? So in your case, you have your duplex or I think triplex, whatever it is, you're renting out the other units, you're living in one of them, right? They're paying off a lot of the mortgage for you.
Yep. Okay, cool. Makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah. So you are house hacking, man.
Definitely.
Cool. What else? We got time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. What we got, guys? All right. Who has something to share in general? What was the biggest takeaway for them today? Or Lauren, you got all your questions out here already. Okay. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I can wait till office hours.
No one else has questions, so I might as well go for it.
So in one of our Wednesday meetings, you guys actually did a really cool deal analyzer, which essentially used like the spreadsheets that you showed today in today's masterclass. You did mention that there was like that example potential investment home in Texas, and the cap rate and return on investment was good. But in your experience, do you find success in renting units that are more than 4 or 5 bedrooms? Because like, do you take into account if people want to rent like a 2,000 square foot home? Because at that point they would probably want to just buy the home, right?
Yeah, so that's when the equation of the medium home price versus the medium income price comes to play. Because then are people more renting or are they more buying in that area? Right. And you can tell from that logic, all right, well, probably more people are buying in this area. Because you're right. Like if you go into certain markets and you're in the burbs and it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,500 square foot place that's in a beautiful suburb, right, with amazing schools, most likely people are trying to buy in that area. They're not renting. But maybe it's a D- neighborhood that has good schools, but the actual home prices are a lot lower. Maybe people are renting there instead. So, you kind of got to do it neighborhood by neighborhood. I wouldn't say you could say, hey, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,500 square foot place is going to be, not a good renting place. I think you got to find out, okay, in that neighborhood, what are people doing? Are they renting? Are they buying? What's the market saying? So boots on the ground, property managers, definitely one, agents, like yourself, will definitely know that too.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jenny, want to wrap us up?
Awesome. Well, thank you all. We love all the energy. And Lynn, I saw the text. You're inspired by your story, energy, and expertise. Note that by sharing this, we want you to be able to go out there and impact your family's life and your friends' lives and share what you have. That's what we're doing here, because we realize the power that real estate can do. We do like homes, but we don't love contracting work and all these other things, but we love the vehicle that it can do to get to the things that we want. And like, for example, in 2 weeks, we're just going to go to New York. We bought a one-way ticket to New York to hang out with my family and be able to spend time with them and be able to write that check to my dad too. So what is that thing that you're going to do by the end of this year? And what are the things that you need to do to be able to get to those goals? And it could be fun goals too. My other goal, I'm just going to put it out there, is to own an island and have a music festival out there, Zen Coast Music Festival, and fly Tony Robbins in our private jet. So you don't have to be afraid to be too crazy in your dreams too. So just putting it out there, know that will happen.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate all the time, guys. Great job investing the time in yourself. We're happy to fill in where we can, and hopefully you guys got some value, felt inspired, and ready to take some freaking action, guys. So I'm pumped. Have a great night, everyone. And we'll see you next time.